All right. Okay, so welcome. We're so glad so many of you are able to join us again for our third webinar series around Joyful Discoveries or Project Ready. So thanks for your attention this morning. So Joyful Discoveries, remember, is kind of the name of the curriculum, and Project Ready is the project overall. And today, Rosie and I are going to focus on the oral language instruction pieces, which are the small group pieces of oral language instruction. So we're going to talk with you mainly about these three different routines. And as we talk about them, we're going to frame them within the research and how they work within our curriculum. So let's start just to kind of place us within the research again. All right, and Rosie, I'm assuming, oopsie, everybody can see my screen. Okay, sorry, my Zoom features are hidden, and so I just want to make sure I can see the chat, which I know Rosie is monitoring. So, okay, great. So Rosie, again, please do stop me if you see some questions that I should address at that point. So,
absolutely.
All right. So why are we focusing on oral language? So just to remind you, and we talked about this in our overview session, in our first session, we know a lot about how to teach reading or early literacy in preschool. And a really important focus in preschool are these oral language skills. And when we talk about oral language, we're talking about both listening comprehension and using your oral language and speaking and sentences and, discussing books and your ideas. Oral language is connected, of course, to vocabulary and knowledge. So these are really our big hitters in preschool, oral language, vocabulary, and knowledge development. And so the routines that we're going to talk about today hit on these key features. And as the National Early Literacy Panel told us, these are crucial for setting that foundation in early reading. And we know a lot about the importance of these skills, and then also how to teach these skills. The newer report we talked about from the Institute for Educational Sciences further solidified the importance of language and knowledge development. And key findings from this report that, again, expanded on what we learned from the early literacy panel was the importance of language-focused instructional routines that we do in small group. And it just makes sense, right? So in smaller group, we can hear each little person's voice and really respond to individual language expressions or ideas in a different way than we can in whole group. We also do this in whole group, but there is some real power in that small group experience for language learning. We know that shared book reading is a strong instructional routine with language development, and we know it's best when we do shared book instructional routines with both comprehension and vocabulary work, so using those language skills. So oral language comprehension and production, that's the big idea of early literacy that we're talking about this morning. The key skills that we're working on the routines that we're going to share with you are, as I said, teaching content, so building those schemas around different academic areas, helping them just know more about their world that will prepare them for later schooling. Teaching vocabulary. And in our language comprehension routines, we really think about the different levels of vocabulary. We're going to work in preschool. We're still very much working on basic vocabulary, but we also do want to introduce our young students to academic and content-specific vocabulary. So we're really thinking about all of those different levels of vocabulary learning. We also know the importance of reading a variety of books that increase in complexity of language structures, as well as knowledge and length and all of those ways that books can differ in terms of complexity. And the discussion of books we know is super important for oral language development. So we want to choose our books really carefully to help our kids have exposure to these different complex language aspects. As we talked about in our first session, the big work of early childhood is creating those foundations for learning all subjects. So really that schema development, our development of different content ideas and knowledge. And I really love this quote by E.D. Hirsch: vocabulary and knowledge growth is like an interest yielding savings account. Little foundation, little growth. So we want to have a strong foundation and then lots and lots of growth. How do we do this in Project Ready? Well, the first way we do it is making sure we have very rich content themes. And so our units are based on important academic content at a preschool level, but still working on important academic content. And across our units, we really think about building background knowledge, building oral language, those listening comprehension skills, and then not connected to our topic today, but those foundational reading skills as well. So in our curriculum, in addition to the whole group circle time, which as we've already talked about, has a lot of language comprehension work in that, we also have 3 small group instructional routines that focus on language. And again, that's our focus for today. And I like to point out that, remember Project Ready is built within an MTSS format. So really thinking about what we do for all kids, but then having some instructional things that we can do to provide additional support to kids who may have a need for more instruction in a certain area to help them grow to the level they need to. And so these small group routines, they are absolutely done with all children, but these are also flexible in that you can do them more frequently or provide more variety for the children who need more support in the area of oral language comprehension. So keep that in mind as I talk about these. So where do they fit in our curriculum? So as we talked about last time and the time before, our curriculum has a whole group piece, and we do that in the whole group, which is around 15 minutes. We do the 1, 2, 3 shared story routine. And then with that, sometimes we do a shared writing routine for some books. And then because we're preschool, we have lots and lots of small group because we know littles can't stay in whole group for too long, and that's often not the best way to get instruction across. We have lots of small groups. And one of our sessions later in our webinar series will talk about how we put this all together. So our strategy is kind of teach you all the routines, and then at the end, we'll come back and talk about what does your day look like? How do you manage small groups and all that good stuff? So know that that's also coming. But with our small groups, we have small groups that are not connected to language, and then we have a bunch that are connected to language. So the 3 language routines that we'll talk about today are, the first is our small group reread with an activity, and that follows that 1, 2, 3 storybook routine. So we're just going to touch on that briefly, just to tell you how it looks, but the routine is exactly the same as the whole group routine. You're just doing it in small group and adding an activity. Then the new routines that we'll learn today are telling terrific tales, which is not connected to our theme. It is a standalone small group connected to teaching common fairy tales and Aesop's fables. And then we have a wordless book routine that we call SAMI. It's an acronym to help us remember the parts of the routine. And that is connected to our theme. So that the books used in SAMI will connect to our theme, but these are also things, all 3 of them really could be standalones. Even if you're not using all of Project Ready, these are things that you could absolutely use in your classroom. And we've had classrooms who do that, especially telling terrific tales. So let's start with the first one. As I said, the easiest one in terms of new learning is the small group reread with activity. So this routine is right in, I have my guide right here. Oh no, I took it out before. I have my little book right here. And so the unit we put in smaller binders like this, and the second read is right in the curriculum. So it's right behind the whole group routine when you look at the curriculum materials. And so the second read set up just like the 1, 2, 3 storybook whole group routine. So you'll see content for beginning, and it's the same kind of things that we did in the whole group routine. During again, we're going to read with excitement and fluency. We're going to ask questions along the way, and then we're also going to reinforce and highlight some specific academic vocabulary. So this is where we get into the academic vocabulary. And then afterwards, it starts very similar to the whole group routine in terms of asking for their opinion, asking some questions from the book, connected to also some vocabulary work. And then the difference with the small group routine is we always have an activity. Sometimes the activity might be a craft. Many of our rereads have a craft connected to them. So it's just a chance to do an activity together. And as you're doing that activity, of course, talking about what you're doing. Some of them have a little activity that we've created. So in the kindness unit, which I put up, I looked over it. In the kindness unit, one of our first books is showing kindness. And we have a little sort activity where they're going to sort, and we keep it in this little kind of envelope with all of our materials. And they are going to do a simple little sort of pictures, and they make a column of, does this show kindness or does this not show kindness? And there's things like children sharing toys and a child helping another child feel better when they were upset, and those kinds of things. So again, it's a smaller group. You have a chance to really talk with children about the book, and then also talk with them about the theme of the book and explore it through either an activity or a craft. Any questions about that one that I can answer? Rosie, any questions that have popped up? That one's pretty straightforward.
Nothing in the chat yet, but possibly someone's typing right now. We'll see.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll keep going, and then if there are, that one's pretty straightforward. But this, I will say, is, I think, the most powerful of the 3 language routines, because we know, if you remember from the overview, there's a lot of power in seeing, rereading the same book in a small group format. And so this is a great chance to talk now about something they've already had one exposure to. So we always tell our teachers when they're making choices about how to use their instructional time, this is your first go-to language routine that you want to make sure you get in. So keep that in mind, because this, as we learned from the research, that shared storybook is really powerful. But it is nice to have variety. And so it's nice to, kind of that language in different ways. So our next routine is getting at language in a different way. So telling terrific tales is our next routine. So this is our new one for today. So we're going to talk through this one and actually have a little video. That was part of our technical challenges this morning. The videos were bigger than we thought when we tried to open them. So hopefully all works when we show it to you. But the steps of telling terrific tales are very simple. You're going to read a story, and we have these cute little puppets, which I'll show you in a second, that you're going to lay out as you read to introduce the characters in the story. We have sequence cards that you'll also lay out to punctuate the beginning and the middle and the end of the story. And then after you tell the story, and I should preface this by saying there's no book for this. So if you see this little picture of me with some children, that's my story right there. And so we provide the stories for you, and you read it. So it's really having them listen in a different way without having a book to reference, but really using listening skills in a different way. And that's why we have the puppets to kind of punctuate the characters, and then the sequence cards to punctuate the parts of the story. And then after you've read the story, now the children are going to help you to tell the story, and they're going to each be a different character in the story. So they're going to act out the story with the puppets. So this is really fun. So then you kind of do it together. So you're more guiding them through it and saying, okay, now it's your turn to the little red hen. What does the little red hen say? So this time you're really doing it with them. And then the fourth time, you're going to help the children retell the story using the puppets more on their own, but still through a guided routine. And this can be done multiple times, across time with a child, with a group of children. And then after you've done the telling terrific tales with them a few times, rough number might be 2, but you might do it more than that. What we have done is we've then put the little basket of puppets and sequence cards in a center, and often this goes in the library center, and the children then can play on their own and retell, the story. And that has been a huge hit and really fun to see the kids be able to retell a story on their own with each other. So that's a big fun thing to add to telling terrific tales. We suggest doing 1 tale per unit. So again, remember, these are not connected to our curriculum in any way. I'll show you the materials in just a second. We've ordered them in the Telling Terrific Tales materials from easier to longer and more complex stories. So you start with an easier one, and as they get used to the routine and build their skills, you slowly get to more complex stories. And so we suggest 1 terrific tale per unit, so about once a month. So again, you're doing that tale multiple times across that month, but that gives them a chance to really learn that tale, because the goal is for them to be able to retell it. So let's look at the materials. First of all, the skills that we're really targeting with telling terrific tales, knowledge of common stories. We know that is a piece of background knowledge that we expect in academic environments, is just knowledge of some of our common stories. And so that's a piece of this, is we're exposing them to some of those common fables and stories, fairy tales that are just kind of in our culture that we want to expose them to. Are these all the important stories? Of course not. But these are some of the key ones that kind of come up throughout elementary school. The big thing we're working on here is helping children increase their length of sentences. And so rather than just giving 1-word answers, we're trying to get them to expand their language as they are retelling the story. Obviously, we're working on retelling skills. We're also really working on sequencing and the whole skill of asking and answering questions. Key language and listening comprehension skills. So telling terrific tales is a separate piece of curriculum material, and we have a separate little binder or set of materials on our website. You can see it, and actually at the end, we'll bring up our website and just show you where a couple of these things are. But what we do for our schools is we put it in a little binder so that they have it kind of all together. And you can see this is the cover of it. And then here's the table of contents. So it starts with some introductory information, some of the things I'm telling you here. And then if you're in Ohio, because we're in Ohio and our schools that we work with in Ohio are accountable for the Ohio standards, we have those outlined within the Telling Terrific Tales book. And then we have some information about materials and how to purchase them. And then setting up your materials. And then we get into the specific tales. And that's the bulk of this material. In our program, here's the tales that we have crafted. And again, we are not saying these are the only tales. These are the ones that worked well with the format that we're using, and ones that we talked with teachers as we were creating this. And these were the ones that we decided to start with, at least. Now we might create more, but this set really, gets the job done in terms of across a 2-year cycle. All right, so the materials. What we suggest, I kind of showed you our little binder where you can find all the materials. So everything you need is in the file that's on our website with Telling Terrific Tales. And with Telling Terrific Tales, the pieces that you need you will need the story. So what we do with the story, so from Telling Terrific Tales, you can pull it out. And I just realized I pulled out the wrong binder. I didn't get you some puppets to show you, but what we do is we put all the materials in a big binder. I grabbed the wrong one, unfortunately, but we do like a big binder. And then within each section of the binder, we have little kind of large versions of this with a little clip. And in that, we will laminate the story. You can kind of see it in this basket here. We will laminate the story, then the sequence cards, and then the puppets. And so what we suggest to our teachers is just have that little basket for that unit, somewhere in your teacher materials that you can grab it and then have everything you need to sit with a small group and do that tale across that unit, across that month. We have a large binder with all of the tales in it, and then we pull it out for each unit and make a little basket. And again, this is also discussed in that Telling Terrific Tales document. One of the things that we had challenges with after our pilot, so during the pilot, we got some cute little finger puppets off Amazon, and you can still, by all means, do that, or find other sources. But what we were challenged with is after the pilot year, during our next project, like the puppets that were our go-tos now were gone. And so we were frantically trying to find affordable finger puppets that matched our story. And so what we ended up doing is working with a talented puppeteer, and she's actually based out of Atlanta, and she made puppets for us for each of the stories. And they're simple little felt puppets. They're really adorable. And she made them so that they would be inexpensive. And so the sets of puppets range, depending on the number of characters, between $5 and $10 for the materials. So for all of our puppets, you can get them for around $130 for all the, 10 different stories. Or I guess we have 12 different stories. That was our build. Our total bill was around that with shipping and everything. So she has a Facebook page, right, Rosie? Is this a Facebook page, or am I remembering it's a Instagram?
Sorry, this is a Facebook page.
It's Facebook, right? So it's Ingest Puppets, and you can order from her through that, or we also, if you want her email, we can send that to you, and we'll post that information on our website as well. So that's one way to get them. Again, you do not have to get them through her. You just need puppets that tell that tale and have the characters that we found. So we wanted to make sure there was a resource that people could get to that was affordable and accessible, because we struggled a lot. Rosie and I looked for puppets for way too long. So the other thing that Heidi did for us, and we'll talk more about this when we talk about our family bags, but you'll see this on our website, is she made blackline masters of our puppets that look just like the little felt puppets that she made for us. And the really wonderful thing about that was that what we do in our family bags, and you could even just do this component, even if you don't do the full family bag, because we have a school right now doing just this. We send home the blackline masters so that they can make the puppets at home with their family. So after we've taught them, the tale, they've done the tale in the classroom multiple times, they know it, they can retell it. We send home a little packet. Actually, we have it in little bins or little envelopes like this, with a little set of crayons, a glue stick, the blackline masters cut out, and popsicle sticks, and so they can make little popsicle stick puppets. And you could even use those in your classroom if you have the resources to buy the puppets. I know of somebody doing that as well, which is great. So let's talk through the routine now that kind of have the layout of it. So in the Telling Terrific Tales document, you will see kind of the layout of the different routines. So I'm going to share with you the Little Red Hen, and that's the video we have. So in the Telling Terrific Tales document on our website, you will see that we talk about what skills are targeted, the materials you need, and all the materials are always going to be the sequence cards, the puppets, and then the story. And again, we provide you with the sequence cards. You'll just need to print them out and cut them out, and we laminate them. I'm sure you guys all know how to laminate. It's like a teacher skill. And then the story itself. And again, we laminate the sequence cards, and we would go ahead and laminate the story just to make it easy. And we put all of that in a basket. Then there's the little outline that we provide. And really, honestly, once you start doing this, you don't even need the outline because it's so simple. But what we did at first is we actually put this little outline on the back of the story. So that way a newer teacher using this routine could kind of quickly refer to it if she or he needed to refer to it. But for each For each story, we give you some specific guidelines as well. So all the stories start with you read the story and you lay out the puppets and sequence cards as you read. The second step is always show the sequence cards. So you're going to discuss what each picture shows. And that's just a way to reinforce kind of the first part of the story, the second part, third part, sometimes there's a fourth part, and ask the children to engage with you in figuring out what did the little red hen do first or what did she do when she was making the bread, and those kinds of things to remind them of the parts of the story and get them using their language. And then after you go through the story, then you're going to hand out the puppets and read the story again, asking the children to play each part. So this is kind of doing it with them. So you can, if you know Anita Archer, you can think about the I do, we do, and then you do is going to be the last step. And then prompt them as needed with the sequence cards and the words. And then the very last step is basically the same kind of thing, but now the kids are going to take more ownership of leading the story. So then we have the stories, and I know you can't read this, but just to show you, this is the Little Red Hen, which is about, I think it's the fourth or fifth story in our sequence. So it's a little bit longer than our first story. Kids are a little bit more experienced with doing this, but we keep all the stories fairly brief so that we can, go through it the 3 times. And then here's what you'll see in terms of the sequence cards. In the video, it was during the pilot before we had all these beautiful sequence cards made. I think in the pilot, we had just like some clip art pictures. We decided to make all of our pictures little art pictures so they had some similarities and we could make sure we were allowed to share them and not breaking somebody's clip art copyright rules. So these are the sequence cards for the Little Red Hen. The other thing I just wanted to share with you before we watch the video and talk more about telling terrific tales is for all of our routines, we have an implementation checklist. And as I shared in the overview, we use these for coaching. We find these to be really helpful for coaching when teachers are first implementing something and want some feedback about how they're doing. I've also seen teachers use this as kind of a reminder for themselves to know what are the key parts of the different routines. So we have this for each of our routines and they're on our website. And as a coach, and these are not used punitively, as a coach, we use these to say, hey, this was completely in place and your student engagement was high. So for each step, we look at, was the step of the routine done? And sometimes you have really good reasons for skipping a step of a routine because kids are wiggly and you have to make it a little shorter than what you had planned to do. So again, it's not punitive. It's more just a way to give feedback and have a discussion about how things went. So we look at both the steps that were implemented, and then we also look at how the engagement was. Sometimes you might be doing things just perfectly, but your student engagement is low. So then we need, as a coach, kind of problem solve a little bit about, how do we get kids more engaged? Because we want kids to access the great instruction we're providing. So these are the steps of the routine. And then at the bottom, we just have some general instructional engagement kinds of things that can be helpful to think about if engagement is low or if it's high, here's probably some of the reasons why it's high. So again, we have this for each of our routines that you can access on our website. All right. Any questions that I can answer at this point? Oh, I think I see a question.
Yeah, so we just got one that says,
Okay.
Can you explain the numbers in the student engagement, please? I assume that means the percentages that we have there.
That's a great question and one we always get. In our research, we actually use this as a measure of understanding implementation for our research purposes. But as I said, we also use it for coaching. So our research assistants who go in and look at this always ask us that question. So I thought that one might be coming. Really, the student engagement piece is it's not like you're going to carefully count and mathematically figure out. It's really just a quick kind of thinking about overall for high engagement, were all of the kids engaged? So it's a kind of about the group feel during this step. Was everybody engaged or just about everybody engaged? medium was about half the kids engaged. So about half the kids were engaged in with you and half the kids were, looking around or finding ways to not be part of the instruction. And then low engagement is if less than half of the kids were engaged. So it's really a quick measure of what did it look like in terms of if the students were accessing this part of the instruction. In our research purposes, this one's not a great example because it's a quicker routine, but we actually really use this to understand if all the steps were necessary when we were first doing this, and if there were steps that didn't work as well in terms of engagement. That's really what we're looking at here. It's just kind of a little measure, and it is subjective for sure, but it works pretty well in terms of helping teachers think about, did this step produce what we wanted, good language and engagement? So I hope that answers it. Definitely ask a follow-up if that didn't quite do it for you. Oh, I see another question. In classrooms, are there typically more than one teacher? Does one teacher do classroom management to allow the other teacher to do the small group lessons? That is a fabulous question. And I'll answer it briefly here, but know that that is really the focus of, I think it's our last session or one of our last sessions where we talk about how do you put this in place and what are the things necessary or things to think about as you're putting this in place. I will tell you in the classrooms we've worked with, they have all had at least one classroom teacher and one assistant for ratio reasons and all the things in preschool. So that's the model that we've typically worked with, and at least in my experience, a typical model in classrooms. Now, some of our classrooms with children with disabilities actually even have sometimes 2 extra adults, depending, but there's reasons for that, right? They have children who have some needs that they need additional people. So what we do is we talk about, helping to manage the classroom. So yes, at first it might be one teacher is helping to make sure centers are running smoothly and the other teacher is doing some small groups. But what we have found when classrooms are set up well and children are taught routines is in all of our classrooms, we have both teachers doing small group routines at the same time. And children are kind of taught how do they manage things on their own. And part of that is also some of the things we talked about last time, making sure your classrooms are set up with engaging centers and classroom management systems so that you can do those small group work. But we always say you don't start that way. You start with making sure children know the routines and can be successful in those centers, so they allow the teacher to be able to do, small group work. So that's kind of the goal. Our goal is always to have both teachers doing instruction. Now we do always have one teacher who's doing instruction, but also kind of managing one part of the classroom, the other teacher doing instruction and managing the other part of the classroom, because they are 3 and 4. They will interrupt you, right? But trying to set it up, be able to do this. And all of these routines, I can't remember if I said that, they're about 10 minutes. So they're all also very brief, which is important. So you can do a small group routine, begin on centers, then pull another small group routine. That's what we are going to encourage when we talk about implementation.
Amy, you answered that question so much more thoroughly than I did in my quick response that I typed up there. Yes,
it's a good one. That's why I thought it would be good to talk about, because it's a good one. So yeah,
absolutely.
Great, thank you. All right, so now I'm going to show you a little video of me telling terrific tales, and this is a group of preschoolers, and we are working on getting some better videos, so I will apologize for the video quality, because I think you hear a telephone ring and one and one point. I mean, it's a real school. I mean, I didn't do it in the classroom to try to reduce outside noise a little bit, but usually always in all of ours, we do these right in the classroom. I pulled them to the library to try to reduce noise for the purpose of this video a little bit, but I wasn't completely successful. But I think it does show you, even though the quality is not perfect. So let's hope that my video will, get my Zoom controls out of the way, that my video will, oopsie, there you go. I did that accidentally. We'll play for you. Let me try this again. All right. Oops. There it goes. Okay. Because the second time, I'm going to ask you guys to help me tell the story. Okay. So first, let's let's just listen to the story, okay? Once upon a time, there was a little red hen. And she lived on a farm with her friends, the cat, the dog, the pig, and the duck. Those are her friends. One day, Little Red Hen found some seeds. She found some seeds. Right there. Oh, how wonderful! My friends and I can make some delicious bread with these seeds, she said. She ran back to the farm to tell her friends. Who will help me plant these seeds so we can make some yummy bread with the wheat? Not me. Not I, meowed the cat. Not I, oinked the porky pig. Not I, barked the lazy dog. Not I, quacked the dogling duck. Friends, first we're going to listen and then we're going to play with them. Yeah, I know you guys have done this one before, but first we're going to listen and then I'll let you play with them, okay? So the little red hen, what did she say? Then I will
Do it for myself.
do it for myself. The seeds grew into a lovely golden wheat. Here's our lovely golden wheat. Little Red Hen ran to her friends to tell them the wheat was ready. She asked her friends, who will help me cut the wheat and ground it into flour so that we can bake some delicious bread? Not I, meowed the sleepy cat. Not I, oinked the pokey pig. Not I, barked the lazy dog. And what did the dogling duck say?
That's
Not I. That's right. And the little red hen said, then I will do it for myself. That's right. Let's put it right here until it's time for you guys to do it. So she did. The little red hen, she cut the wheat and she ground it into flour. Very good. Oh, when she was done, she went back to her friends. Whoopsie. She got so excited, she jumped off Miss Amy's finger. And she said, oh, I have some flour. Who will help me bake it into bread?
Not I.
Not I, said the cat. Not I,
Say the doggy.
Not I, said the duck. Not I, said the pig. So she said, I will do it myself.
He's
And she
happy.
Oh, and she baked some delicious bread. Oh, it was so delicious. Oh, and her friends, they smelled the bread and they ran to the little red hen and they said what?
Can we eat it?
Can we eat it?
No.
I will do it myself. And she ate the bread all by herself. The end. Isn't that a good story? All right, let's do it again. I know you were so excited to do the puppets. So did you choose the puppet you wanted?
I want a cat.
You wanted to do the cat and you wanted to do the dog? Anna, can you sit down? We're going to do this story and you guys are going to tell it with me. All right, should I be the little red hen? Do you want to be the little red hen? All right, we'll let you be. Since Anna's a little red hen, we'll let you do two puppets. All right?
I
All
want
right.
two puppets. Me too.
So how does our story start? How do our fairy tale start?
Once upon a time,
Once upon a time, there was a little red hen. Yeah, who lived on a farm with her friends, the
doggy,
cat, and then let's let one say this one.
the dog,
The duck and the
piggy.
and the pig. And one day, the little red hen, what did she find? Anna, what did the little red hen find? What are those?
Seeds.
Can you say she found some seeds? Can you say she found some seeds? Oh, perfect. She found some seeds. And she was so excited. What did she do? What did she do when she found the seeds? She was so excited. Did she run to her? She ran to her friends and she told them, tell your friends. Tell your friends. Say, I found some seeds. And then what did she ask her friends? She said, friends, who will help me?
Not me, say the baby.
Oh, wait, she's got to ask you first. Say, who will help me plant the seeds? Who will help her plant the seeds? And the doggy said,
Not I.
and the kitty said,
Not me.
and the ducky said, and the piggy said, not me. So what did the little red hen say?
I will do it myself.
I will do it for myself. And she did. And she planted the seeds. And then what grew where the seeds were? Some beautiful, some wheat. Say it loud. Say some wheat grew.
the wheat grew. And then she ran to her friends and she said, who will help me cut the wheat? What did the friends say?
Now I say the busy cat.
Not I said the lazy dog. Good job.
Lazy dog.
Lazy dog. What did the kids say?
Not I say the cat.
No, sir. The eyes of the kitty. No, I said the duck. What did this guy say?
Not me.
So what did the little red hen say? What did the little red hen say? I will do it myself. And she did. And she took the wheat and she ground it up into some lovely
Flower.
And then she went to her friends. And what did she ask her friends next, Anna? She asked her friends to help her do what?
Who help me?
Who will help me do what? What did she want help with now?
Who will help me plant the flower?
Who will help me use the flour to make some
Bread.
bread? Yes. And who's going to help her make some bread?
Now me say busy dog.
Not me, said the lazy dog. Not
Me.
Not I.
Not I say that cat.
Not I, said the cat. One, what did the duck say?
Not me.
Not I, said the duck. What did the pig say?
Me.
Not I, said the pig. So what did the little red hen say?
I will do it for myself.
I will do it for myself. And so she made the flour into some delicious bread. And what did the friends do when they
Smell
smelled? They
it.
smelled what? Fatima, what did they smell?
Smell the bake.
They smelled the bread baking. Very good. Can you say they smelled the
Ouch.
bread baking?
The smell of the baking bread.
Oh, and it smelled so delicious. Let's all smell the delicious bread. So delicious. Oh, good. And so what did the friends, they ran to the little red hen, and what did they ask the little red hen?
No.
Hey, little red hen, your friends are asking you something.
We can eat it.
What did,
Can
can,
we eat it?
can we eat the bread, please? What did the little red hen say?
The hen say no because you not help me.
Little red hen, can you say that? No, you didn't help me. So I will
Myself.
I will do it myself. And what did the little red hen do?
Eat it.
She ate the bread.
It's
Good
not
job. Do you guys think the friends should have helped her? You don't think the friends should have helped her? Oh, no, now they're eating different. Good job, you guys. All right, awesome.
All right, so that's let's see if I can get back to my PowerPoint. All right, sometimes it wants to have a mind of its own. Oh yes, we're gonna switch to another PowerPoint. So that's actually telling terrific tales. What questions can we answer for you about telling terrific tales before we go on to our next routine, Sammy? So do I see a question?
The question that's in there right now is one that we already answered, I think.
Okay, great. Yeah, so a few things about just that video that I'll point out. First of all, you may have noticed these are, or may have wondered, these are all English learners. And so these are all children who, English for them is their second language. And so definitely children who need some more support with learning English. And so this is a really nice routine to give them some of those opportunities. We try with all of our language routines to think about having a heterogeneous group. And so you could probably tell in this group, there was one child who was more willing to share ideas and possibly had stronger skills, or at least more willing to, take a chance at that. And that was really helpful and is really helpful. So one of the things with all the language routines is thinking about having your group makeup so that you have a mix of kids who might need some additional supports, but then also some kids who can be those good models, because it's really powerful when your friend says something and then you can, expand on that. And so one of our little ones, Anna, who ended up being the little red hen, we were so proud of her for doing that, was someone who was pretty shy with especially using the English language. And so this was a nice routine for her to be able to shine a little bit and have some smaller group opportunity to do those language skills. And as you saw, it's a little you know, it's a little loose. And in this one, we didn't have a chance to do it the third time. These kids had done this routine before, but they hadn't done it too often. So sometimes you just kind of do that third read and you don't actually get a chance to do the fourth. That's completely fine. You know, you could clearly say they were probably at the end of the time of engagement. And so, you know, we stopped it there for that purpose. So, all right. All right. Did I see another question pop up, or should we move on to the next one?
We do have another one. It says,
Okay.
that was fantastic. There is so much
Aw.
going on. The background knowledge building is key. For example, one student thought they should plant the flower.
Yes. And again, some of that is language, right? Like that might have been, it clearly understood what was happening, but the language didn't come out quite right. So yeah, so many opportunities. I love this routine because there's so many opportunities to hear your children experiment with language and then gently correct even isn't the right word, but expand their language, which I really like. And I'll have to tell you, and Rosie, you can go ahead if you want to go ahead and start. Let me make sure you can share. If you want to start the next PowerPoint, we're going to move on to Sammy in just a second. But as Rosie's setting that up, I will tell you that it was funny because this routine was one that I wasn't sure was going to work in preschool. I had done something similar to this in kindergarten with great success. And I was wondering, is this a little too hard for preschool? Because there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of cognitive demand in this. There's a lot of things kids have to really pay attention to be able to do this well. And so in the pilot, Rosie knows this, I was like, I don't know about this one, but I will tell you, it has become a real favorite. It worked really well in the pilot. And then when we expanded it in phase 2, it's been a real favorite. And we have a lot of instructional assistants doing this routine, as well as teachers, and they just do a fabulous job. And so it's worked out really well. So I encourage you to give it a try, even if you are possibly like me, how I was at the beginning and thinking, I'm not 100% sure about this one. We have found that it really does work. Like anything, there's a lot for the teacher to manage at first too. So, you know, you get better with it at time, like anything, but this was kind of one of our surprise winners from the pilot. So.
Absolutely. So Amy, I'm trying to share this PowerPoint here, but my share sound and optimize for video clip, those are grayed out. I'm not able to select those. Do you have thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and share the PowerPoint, maybe we can just pull up the video of it. And you know what, if the video doesn't work, we can send you the video. So
that sounds great.
At least you got one video. We'll get better at this. Sorry for our technical challenges this morning. We'll go ahead and give it a start. And then Rosie, if you want to look in our file, there's a file of just videos. You probably know it. We could just see if we can just pull that up. I think that might be a better strategy rather than embedding for our next one.
I think you're right about that. I will try to do that, but let me, for some reason right now, I'm just having a hard time sharing this in the normal slideshow view. So I'll work on that for a second.
Okay, great. So as Rosie's setting it up, I'll tell you, Sammy is our next routine. And Sammy is utilizing wordless books. And so the one that we have a video of that I'll kind of talk you through is the wordless book, The Red Hat. And the Red Hat is in our welcome unit. So since it's welcome, it's a little generic. So this one actually is not a great example of being connected to a theme. Besides the welcome unit, everything else really does. All the other wordless books are connected to a theme. So in astronomy, we have a wonderful book about Field Trip to the Moon, which is about a school bus that goes to the moon and children take a field trip to the moon. It's a really fun, it's a hit always, really fun astronomy themed wordless book. And so in each of our units after welcome just has one wordless book, because remember the welcome unit is just our 2-week unit. All of the other units have at least 2 wordless books. Sometimes we have 3 because we do a challenge wordless book that you can use as an option in that, especially in that second year. But we encourage you to think about 2 wordless books within a unit. So kind of like telling Terrific Tales, it's not like you're doing a different one each day. It's really you do that same wordless book a number of times so kids get used to it and get better at retelling and talking about the story. So you can imagine, like with telling Terrific Tales, after they've done the Little Red Hen a number of times, we can move more quickly through those steps and get to them really leading the story because they know it, and that's the goal. Very similar with the Sammy word list routine. All right, are you able? There you go. So the skills that we're working on in Sammy, very similar, because again, these are language comprehension, increasing length of sentences, explanations, retelling, again, sequencing. We know that's a really important skill, asking and answering questions. So SAMmy stands for the steps of the routine. So the first one is show children the book, read the title and author. And really this first step is just about generating excitement. Like, this is a great book and I'm going to tell you about it and we're going to get to look at this book together. Then we want to ask the children, what do you think the story is about? And helping them form their opinion about what this is about. And then the first time through the book, the teacher's really going to model by telling the story first. Then after that, we're going to make sure they understand what they read or what the teacher read. And when I say read, the teacher's telling the story, it's wordless, by asking simple questions about the story to make sure they understood the story. And then the last one is reading it again with the children. And this time, you're going to help the children tell the story. And at first, it's a little bit more teacher directed. As they get to know the story better, they can do the retell with more success. And then we always finish with a little activity. And so in the red tree, for example, we have some little sequence cards. That's a very frequent one that we use, is just a sequencing activity of beginning, middle, and end. And again, we provide all of those materials for you in the curriculum materials. I should have said the outline for the wordless books are in the curriculum materials for that unit. So this is my welcome unit. Again, we put each unit curriculum materials in an instructor binder. And so, it's just right in with all of the other materials for that unit. So that's where you find the instructional outlines for the wordless books. Going to go to the next slide, please, Rosie.
It is not working for me for some reason.
I tell you, we just have
no.
Nicholas, that's okay. That's okay. We can just talk through.
There we go.
Oh, great. I just saw a question. What does TTT stand for? Telling terrific tales. So that's, if you see TTT, that's telling terrific tales. So, all right. So yeah, so here's what an outline looks like. Again, similar to our other instructional outlines, but it'll tell you what the skills are. And I know this is hard to read. I just want to kind of show you the parts. It'll tell you the skills we're really targeting. Sometimes some books have some additional specific skills that lend itself nicely to that book, the materials that you'll need. And then we give you a little story synopsis. Because it's a wordless book, it doesn't do that. So we give you a little story synopsis so you kind of know what you're going into, which is helpful, especially when you're first doing this. And then just like telling terrific tales, for each story, we have a specific outline where we outline for you what might be some things you ask when you do the red hat, after reading, what might be some questions you ask. And then for the Sammy, we also always have a differentiation tips for you. So what might be some things with this book that would be helpful for children who need a challenge. And this is all within a group. Again, the language groups are great to have as heterogeneous groups. So some kids with stronger language skills, some kids who have lower language skills. But within that, how might you differentiate for kids who need a challenge or kids who may need some additional support? So those are just some tips for each book connected to that book. All right, and go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so I kind of talked about this, but here you can just see it a little bit better. Here's the story synopsis and the materials. And so the steps of Sammy, again, are you start with showing the book, you read the title and the author's name, ask the children what they think the story is going to be about. So again, you're still just on the cover of it. These two pieces just take a couple minutes. And then you're going to model telling the story to the children. And you ask questions along the way here and there to make sure they're engaged, but this is really the teacher, the I do part. And then at the end, you're going to ask some simple questions about the story to make sure that they were with you and understand the story. And then you're going to read it again with the children. And this time you're really going to recruit their help in telling the story. And then at the end, you do a simple little activity. So I think, Rosie, this would be a great time to show the video. So you guys kind of saw that or kind of understand the outline of it. Let's show you a little video. And this is actually this time Rosie doing Sammy.
My apologies, but I have not been able to bring it up separately here. So let me just try to slip through the slides and see if I can do it.
You know what, Rosie? Actually, if you are not able to share the video, it's probably better for me to do that. So let me pull up the video. I just thought of that. Like, you're not going to be able to share the sound probably, but I have it right here because I was working on it before. So let's hope that this works. As it's opening, Rosie, anything else that you would like to add about Sammy? Oh, look, it opened right up.
No, but I did see a question about telling terrific tales. It was a question about, is this program for 3 and 4-year-olds? So I think we can address that. Yes, it is. And actually, I think there was a little bit of concern. Maybe this might be a little telling terrific tales might be challenging for 3-year-olds. And one of the things I think to keep in mind is that, remember, we're looking for heterogeneous groups. So we've got models of students with kind of more advanced language and students with who need a little bit more support with their language. And it is a favorite routine for all of our students, 3, 4, 5 years old. Everyone in preschool really enjoys this, and they actually all do really well with telling terrific tales.
Yeah. And that group that actually you saw, those were, when we did it, those were 3-year-olds. And this group that you're about to see is 3-year-olds. So yes, absolutely. And I can understand that feeling. And yeah, 3-year-olds at first, not all 3-year-olds, but as a group, 3-year-olds at first might need a little bit more support doing it. But as Rosie said, we've had great success. And some of our schools have 3-year-old classrooms and 4-year-old classrooms, so they can't even mix 3 and 4-year-olds together within the group, but it still has worked really well. And that was one of my concerns at first too. As I said, that was, I wondered if it was going to be too hard, but we have found great success with it. So I'd encourage you to give it a try and think about, for your kiddos, how do you have to scaffold it until they really understand it, and then you can do it fully. So, all right, great question. All right, let's hope that this works.
Did you share your screen?
Sorry, thank you. I thought I did, but maybe not. Let's see. I might have gotten distracted because I was finding the video. So thank you, Rosie. No, I did not. All right, the multitasking sometimes challenges me. So let me try this again. Okay, there's Rosie. Can you see it now, guys?
We can, yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's try it again. And again, I apologize for the sound quality. We are working on some better videos for our website, but I think this gives you an insight into it. All right.
The sound is not working for us.
All right, I probably forgot to push. Let me try one more time. And if it doesn't work, then we will give up. But okay, wait a second. Sorry. All right, I think I forgot to do the trick that Maria told me when I had to reshare. Oops, I just had to reshare. Okay. All right, sorry everyone. Thanks for bearing with me. Oh, you know what? It is not letting me do it this time. That's weird. Same thing that you were saying, Rosie, the thing
is it grayed out for you as well?
Yeah, it's not allowing me to share. So why don't we do this? Since we talked it through, why don't we, sorry, it's playing and it's very much distracting me. So let me turn it off on my computer. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and send you the little video, or we can put it up on we can put it up in a Google Drive and then you can watch it. Why don't we do that? I apologize. One of the things we're working on this year is making videos we can have on our website so that you can just hear the routine or see the routine and then click and watch, kind of like what we just did with Telling Terrific Tales, but with better sound quality. So we will do that. We will put it up in a Google Drive and send you guys the link so you can watch Rosie doing it, because I think it is nice to be able to see it. And just know these are 3-year-olds. This was at the end of the year, and this was a story that they had read at the beginning of the year, but it had been a really long time. So they were still kind of learning it. And Rosie, I don't know if you're able to pull up your screen. If not, it's not a big deal. But I just wanted to share, pull up the PowerPoint for the last slide, so we could just kind of do a little wrap up stuff. If you go to just the very last slide, I wanted to, well, and as you're doing that, actually, I just want to pull up our website just to remind people where to find some of the things that we talked about today. So if you go to our website, remember it's readingscience.org. And then if you click on preschool, you will come to this page. And if you scroll down, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't click on preschool, so I better click on it here. And you will come to this page.
You're not sharing your screen currently.
It says I am.
Sorry.
It says I am. Well, that's interesting. Let me try one more time. Now am I?
Yes, now we see it. Thank you.
That was funny. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so here's our website. Here's the preschool materials. So if we scroll down, I just want to show you where you can find the Telling Terrific Tales. So that's where Telling Terrific Tales is. And again, in here, that's where you find the story. You'll find the manual, which includes the stories and the picture cards for everything. And it has information about where to get the puppets. If you would like Heidi's direct email Rosie, and she'll be happy to share that with you if that's what you would like to get.
Amy, while you're here, we did have a question about if the Blackline Masters are available on the website. Do you mind showing where people can find those?
Yep, they are. And they are in our family take-home pack materials. I believe, aren't they, Rosie? Now I'm forgetting where
they should be, unless they have been switched over to the new website, which I doubt they would.
They haven't. Oh yeah, here's the Blackline. Where are the Blackline Masters? Yeah, I think the Blackline Masters for each. Actually, I'm not sure, Rosie. I don't see the Blackline Masters. I thought they were in the take-home bags, but I do not see them. So we will get those up on our website. And if you need them right away, just email Rosie, because we're happy to share those with you. But I don't see those on our website yet, because they would be in the take-home packs, but I don't see them. But we do have them, and we're happy to share them with you.
Yeah, I also thought they were up there, so that's surprising to me as well. But if you just email me and I can send you the document with them.
Yeah, as we said, we're still building our website, so there's things that you think something got up there, but maybe it didn't, and it could have been my fault, or it just didn't get up there for whatever reason. So we apologize, but we will make sure we get those to you. So yeah, definitely, if you can't find something on the website, don't hesitate to email Rosie, because we are still learning, or we are still working on our website quite a bit. I also just wanted to show you the implementation checks. These are at the bottom, and they are all the implementation checks for each of the routines. So under tools for implementation, we have those. And then we also created, if you're interested in an administrator walkthrough form, we'll share this again at the very end of our work together. That can be helpful for an administrator or a coach who's working with teachers implementing Project Ready, and they're doing all the pieces. It's a kind of a quick way to take a glance at what a classroom is doing. So
Amy, I think we have a participant who knows our website better than us, who said that they are available under Telling Terrific Tales.
Oh, okay. So if you click, look right there. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because I'm like,
thank you, Nancy.
I swear we put those up there. So thank you. Yes, I should have clicked. So if you click Telling Terrific Tales, you get this. This is the manual, and look, there's our Blackline Masters. So I thought we also need to put them in the family bags, because that's where we also use them. So great, thank you, appreciate it. All right, so then I think that's it for our kind of webinar this morning. Thank you so much for your patience and your work with us. Our next webinar is next Saturday, and it is focused on the alphabetics routine. And we'll be joined with Maria for that. Oh, Rosie's going to put those up. So it is next week, right? Yep. Next week is alphabetics. And then we're going to talk about math and basic concepts on the 17th. Then we take a little break for the holiday time and come back in January to talk about family engagement. That's when we'll really get into our family take-home packs. And then supporting children with exceptional needs. And then the final one, we are really thinking about, okay, you've learned it all, let's put it all together. Let's think about scheduling your day. We also will touch on some of our assessment pieces that we have specific to Project Ready, and really thinking about how do you create and manage those small groups, because Alphabetics is also a small group routine. So great. If there's any final questions, I'm happy to take them, but I'm also happy to say thank you. And yeah, we appreciate your interest and your time this morning and bearing with us with some of our little technical issues. We're getting better each time, I promise. So we'll really work on those videos for next time. So thank you for your patience.